Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Diversity of Plants Zone. Before starting my today's video, I request you all to please subscribe my YouTube channel. Today's topic of my video is about Introduction to Adolf Engler and Karl Prantl. So let's start the video. Adolf Engler. Heinrich Gustav Adolf Engler was born on the 25th March 1844 and died on the 10th of October 1930. He was a German botanist. He is notable for his work on plant taxonomy and phytogeography, such as the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, the natural plant families, edited with the Karl A. von Prantl. Even now, his system of plant classification, the Engler system, is still used by many herbaria and is followed by writers of many manuals and floras. It is still the only system that treats all plants in the wider sense, algae to flowering plants, in such depth. Engler published a prodigious number of taxonomic works. He used various artists to illustrate his books, notably Jos Fall (1864–1939), an illustrator who had served an apprenticeship as a wood engraver. Fall's skill drew Engler's attention, starting a collaboration of some 40 years. Fall produced more than 33,000 drawings and 600 plates for the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien. He also illustrated Das Pflanzenreich 1900–1953, Die Pflanzenwelt, Afrikas 1908–1910, Monographien Afrikanische Pflanzenfamilien 1898–1904, and the journals ENGLER'S Botanische Jahrbuch. Adolf Engler. Adolf Engler, German botanist, printed photograph 1914 as shown in the figure. Biography includes the date of birth. So he was born on 25th March 1844, Siegen, Prussia. Died on the 10th of October 1930 at the age of 86, Berlin, Germany. Nationality German, alma mater, University of Breslau, and known for the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien. Awards: Lenin Medal 1913. Scientific career includes the fields Botany, Plant Taxonomy. Institutions: Botanical Institute of Munich, University of Kiel, and University of Berlin. Adolf Engler was born on March 25, 1844 in Siegen, Silesia, now Siegen, in western Poland as Heinrich Gustav Adolf Engler, and died in Berlin, Germany on October 10, 1930. He studied and obtained a PhD from the University of Breslau, now Wrocław, Poland, in 1866. After some years of teaching, he became in 1871 the custodian of botanical collections of the Botanische Institut der Ludwig Maximilian University München Botanical Institute of Munich, remaining there until 1878, when he accepted a professorship at the University of Kiel, where he stayed until 1884, teaching systematic botany. Also in 1878, Engler was elected into the Leopoldina, German Academy of Natural History. He went back to Breslau in 1884 as director of the Botanical Garden, succeeding Goethe and appointed professor of botany at the University of Breslau. From 1889 to 1921, Engler was the professor at the University of Berlin and director of the Berlin Dahlem Botanical Garden, transforming it into one of the greatest botanical gardens of the world. He visited several regions of the world, enlarging the knowledge of floristic distribution, especially of Africa. Adolf Engler. Engler's grave marker at the Berlin Botanical Garden, as shown in the figure. Engler Heinrich, Gustav, Adolf. Engler was the son of the August Engler, a merchant, and Pauline Scholitz. At an early age, his mother took him to Breslau, Germany, now Wrocław, Poland, where he completed a classical education at the Magdalene Gymnasium. During his years at the gymnasium, he accompanied Rudolf von Uechtritz on the botanical field trips. Engler later worked on the difficult and variable genus which is called Saxifraga for his dissertation, for which he obtained a doctorate under the Goethe at the University of Breslau. After some years of teaching at Breslau, Engler became curator of the botanical collections at the Botanische Staatsanwalt in Munich, then under the supervision of Nageli. Under the latter's critical guidance, Engler reached maturity in his systematic work. After completing his monograph on Saxifraga, he began work on the tropical families, which is called Olacaceae, Acacinaceae, or Acacineaceae, and the especially difficult Oraceae. For the Martius and Engler's International Team effort and Flora Brasiliensis 1840 to 1906. With these wider studies, Engler developed the systematic theory and methodology with which he would influence and dominate almost a half-century of plant taxonomy. A basically comparative morphological method was supplemented with elements from phytogeography, anatomy, embryology, and even, although more modestly, from phytochemistry. While conducting these studies, Engler came to accept the Darwinian ideas on evolution as a background explanation of organic diversity. In 1878, he was offered the chair of systematic botany at the small 250 students University of Kiel. Engler enthusiastically accepted this chance to pursue a university career, although he was not particularly gifted either as a teacher or an orator. His very light teaching duties left him ample time to develop his original ideas as well as his organizational skill. In 1880, he founded the Botanische Jahrbuch für Systematik, Pflanzengeschichte und Pflanzengeographie, of which he edited and published 62 volumes in the course of nearly 50 years. For most of that period, Engler's Jahrbuch, as it was usually called, was the world's foremost journal of plant systematics and phytogeography. While at Kiel, Engler wrote Versuch, eine Entwicklungsgeschichte der Pflanzenwelt 1879 to 1882, which brought him widespread fame. Essentially, the book is the first attempt at the genetic and historical theory of the origin of the floristic diversity of the Northern Hemisphere. Engler proved that during the Tertiary period, there existed in this hemisphere a somewhat homogeneous flora, which modified by later glaciation resulted in the present diversity of the floras of Europe, Eastern Asia, and Pacific and Atlantic North America. In 1884, Engler was recalled to the University of the Breslau to succeed Goethe as Professor of Systematic Botany and Director of the Botanical Garden. His colleague from earlier Breslau's days, Ferdinand Julius Kohn, was in charge of the physiological botany, and was Kohn who was mainly responsible for Engler's remarkably broad interest in botany, comprising the cryptogams and also the higher plants. The Breslau period was significant because of the Engler's ideas of producing an encyclopedia of the descriptive plant sciences. With a Karl A.E. Prantl from the Aschaffenburg, who was primarily in charge of the cryptogams and who died in 1893. In the early stages of the work, Engler began the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, which was to become the last complete systematic and monographic survey of the plant kingdom from the generic level up to the present day. Between March 1887 and September 1915, 248 installments appeared, written by numerous collaborators. The basis of all the treatments was clearly provided by Engler, who published several variants of his Prinzipien der Systematischen and Ordnung in various volumes of the Pflanzenfamilien, and also in the 9 editions of his highly successful one-volume abridgment Solibus der Pflanzenfamilien. Realizing that the theory of evolution provided the background for an understanding of the organic diversity, Engler stressed that in actual practice there were insufficient historical and experimental data for a fully justified phylogenetic arrangement. Believing that it would be wrong to assume per se a monophyletic origin of plant life, he pointed out that parallel developments must have taken place at different times and places. Therefore, the actual basis for the system elaborated in the Pflanzenfamilien remained that outlined during his years at Munich: morphology, phytogeography, and related subdisciplines had to provide the basic data for what would remain a subjective assessment of formal or genetic relationships. Premature evolutionary speculations had to be avoided. First, priority had to be given to the assembling of basic data. The Darwinian and Mendelian ideas on the origin of diversity, however, should never be lost sight of when trying to explain diversity. The Engler system of plant classification came to its full development in the Pflanzenfamilien and the Solibus. Essentially, the system recognized, contrary to earlier systems, the great diversity of what has so far been called cryptogams and attributed high and equal rank to the various groups of algae, fungi, mosses, and ferns. The phanerogams called Embryophyta, siphonogama were on an equal footing with the 12 divisions of former cryptogams. The arrangement of flowering plants still put the more highly specialized Monocotyledones before the Dicotyledones, which were later shown to contain all the ancestral forms. Nevertheless, Engler's system remained for many years the most widely accepted classification of all plants. Through his many publications and clearly stated theoretical assumptions, Engler had already won worldwide fame by 1889 when he was chosen to succeed Eichler as professor of botany and director of the botanical garden at Berlin. It was there that his great organizational gifts found their scope in the Second Reich involvement of economic and colonial, as well as cultural and scientific expansion. In the large new botanical garden, which was set up and developed between 1895 to 1910, and in nearby Dahlem, Engler was able to illustrate his ideas on phytogeography. To continue the expansion of his ideas, a botanical museum and a staff of collaborators were at his disposal. The cryptogamic volumes of the Pflanzenfamilien began to appear, and material from Africa directed research on phanerogames increasingly toward the tropical regions of this continent. During his Berlin period, Engler produced the most important publication as sole author, the various volumes of the Pflanzenwelt Africas. This work was part of a series of volumes on the main phytogeographic regions of the world, the vegetation, Dia, Erde. Engler also started a monographic survey of the plant world down to the species level, des Pflanzenreich. After his retirement in 1921, he started a second edition of Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien. As a scientist and organizer, Engler dominated the Engler'S an entire era in systematic botany in which the descriptive activities in the discipline reached an all-time high. Next I'm going to discuss about the Engler system. So one of the prime systems of the plant taxonomy, the Engler system, was devised by the Adolf Engler in the time period of 1844 to 1930 and is featured in two major taxonomic texts he authored or co-authored. His influence is reflected in the use of the terms Engler school and Engler era. Engler's starting point was that of Eichler, who had been the first to use phylogenetic principles, although Engler himself did not think that his was. Next I am going to discuss about the Engler's works. His modified Eichler's schema first appeared in 1886 in his Guide to Breslau Botanical Garden, of which he was the director, and was expanded in the Solibus Dia Pflanzenfamilien in 1892. This reflected the new post-Darwinian perspective. Engler's Solibus first appeared in 1892 with the title Solibus Dia Vorlesungen über Spezial und medizinische pharmazeutische Botanik. Many subsequent editions have appeared since, and it was continued after Engler's death in 1930. The most recent edition was the 13th in 2009. The other major work was the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien in the time period 1887 to 1915, written with Karl Prantl in 23 volumes. An incomplete second edition was issued in 28 parts in the time period of 1924 to 1980. The Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien consisted of a complete revision of plant families down to generic level and often even further. The Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien is still considered one of the few true world floras. Finally, there was also incomplete Das Pflanzenreich 1900 to 1968, a multi-authored work which attempted to provide a modern variant of linear species plantrum 1753. The Engler's system rapidly became the most widely used system in the world. References to the Engler system may imply an addition of the Solibustia Pflanzenfamilien or the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien. The different approaches between the two works and different editions has resulted in inconsistencies in the descriptions of the system. A number of references to the Engler system actually refer to later revisions, modified Engler system, undertaken by Melchior and colleagues, the 12th edition of the Solibus 1964. Many of the world's herbaria have been organized on the Engler system, particularly in North America and in Europe other than Britain. The Engler system is also reflected in his multi-volume collaborative work begun in the 1900s, Das Pflanzenreich, Regni Vegetabilis Conspectus. Plants were considered to form a number of divisions, Abteilung, the number of which continually changed, but initially in 1886 was 4 and in 1990 was 13. Many of these referred to lower life forms such as bacteria and algae that would not necessarily be considered as plants today. Initially, higher plants, Embryophyta or terrestrial plants, were considered in two divisions, Embryophyta, siphonogama, Bryophytes, Pteridophytes, and Embryophyta, siphonogama, Spermatophytes, Gymnosperms, and Angiosperms, but were later subdivided. Embryophyta siphonogama replaced the older term PHANEROGAMAE, and the classes were further divided into groups of families called orders. Engler followed Eichler's phylogeny, placing the Monocotyledonae before Dicotyledons, and within the latter, the Archiclamidae before the Metaclamidae, while the groupings were largely based on those of Bentham and Hooker. The ordering was very much based on the concept of the primitive plant and those that were derived from these. Embryophyta, terrestrial plants, Tracheophyta, vascular plants, Euphylophyta, Spermatophyta. This is Anthocerophyta. Anthocerophyta is divided to form the Embryophyta. Embryophyta is divided to form Bryophyta. Bryophyta includes multicellular sporophyte embryo Gametangia sporangium. Next is Marchantiophyta. Marchantiophyta, along with the Bryophyta, which is also called sensu stricto, forms Embryophyta. Embryophyta again is divided to form sensu lato, which includes the structure of the spermatozoon. Next is Lycophyta. Lycophyta divides to form siphonogama. Siphonogama forms Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta includes the xylem with lignified tracheate, phloem, independent and branched, sporophyte also in fossil, homeophyton and Algiophyton. Next is Monilophyta. Monilophyta forms siphonogama, again divides to form Pteridophyta. Pteridophyta includes ovules, multiflagellate, spermatozoon, chloroplast invariant. Next is the Gymnospermae. Gymnospermae and Angiospermae, both these form seeds, heterospory, secondary xylem. Next I am going to discuss about the Engler's botanical ranks, German, Latin, English. Abteilung, Divio, Division. Unterabteilung, Subdivio, Subdivision. Classe, classes, class. Ria, order, order. Unterria, suborder, suborder. Farm, familia, family. Antiform, subfamilia, subfamily. Gope, tribus or tribe. Gattung, genus, art, species. Next I'm going to discuss about Feuer, Deutsch, den, Königlich, Botanischen Garten, Engler 1886. Synopses include Divian, Mycetozoa or Myxomycetes, Divian Thallophyta, Subdivian Cycadofilicales, Subdivian Algae class Bacillariaceae, which is also called Diatomaceae, class Chlorophyceae, class Phaeophyceae, class Rhodophyceae, Floridae, subdivision Fungi, class Phycomycetes, class Eustachioidea, class Ascomycetes and lichens. Subdivision Characeae, division Zoidogamiae, which is also called Archegoniaceae. Subdivision Bryophyta includes the class Hepaticaceae, class Mushifrondosae. Subdivision Pteridophyta includes the class Felicinae, class Equisetaceae, class Lycopodidae, division Siphonogamae, PHANEROGAMAE, ANTHOPHYTA. Subdivision Gymnospermae, Angiospermae includes the class Cycadofilicales and Coniferae. Class Gnetales. Subdivision Angiospermae, Metaspermae. Class Monocotyledonae 10 orders. Class Dicotyledonae. Subclass Archiclamidae includes Corypetalae, Apetalae 25 orders. Subclass Sympetalae includes 10 orders. Next I am going to discuss about the division Zoidogamiae, which is also called Archegoniaceae. Includes the subdivision Bryophyta, which includes class Hepaticaceae, class Mushifrondosae, and subdivision Pteridophyta, which includes the class Felicinae 2 orders, and order is Felices. Order Hydropterids, class Equisetaceae, class Lycopodidae. Next I am going to discuss about the division Siphonogamae, PHANEROGAMAE, ANTHOPHYTA. Subdivision Gymnospermae, which is also called Archiospermae, includes the class Cycadofilicales, class Coniferae, and class Gnetales. Subdivision Angiospermae, Metaspermae includes the class Monocotyledonae 10 orders. Class Monocotyledonae, orders Pardonales 3 families, order Helobiae, Fluviales 9 families, order Glamiflori 2 families, includes the family Gramineae and the family Cyperaceae. Order Principes 1 family, order Cyananthe 1 family, order Spathiflori 2 families, order Farinosae 11 families, order Liliflori, Solido, Albami, Nati 8 families, family Juncaceae, family Liliaceae 10 subfamilies, subfamily Melanthioideae, subfamily Herarioideae, subfamily Asphodeloideae, subfamily Alioideae, subfamily Lilioideae, subfamily Dracenoideae, subfamily Aspergoideae, subfamily Ophiopogonoideae, subfamily Luzariagoideae. Lozariogoideae. Subfamily Smylocoideae. Family Hemodoraceae. Family Amaryllidaceae. 3 subfamilies. Subfamily Amaryllidoideae. Subfamily Agavoideae. Subfamily Hypoxidoideae. Family Valoziaceae and family Techaceae. Family Dioscoriaceae. Family Iridaceae. 3 subfamilies. Subfamily 1 is the Crocoideae. Second subfamily is Iridoideae. Next subfamily is Isoroideae. Order Cytamidae. Order Microspermae. Next I am going to discuss about the class Dicotyledonae, subclass Archiclamidae, which includes Corypetalae, Apetalae, 25 orders. Subclass Sympetalae includes 10 orders. Next I am going to discuss about the Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, synopsis of first edition, Maxothalophyta, Maxomycetes 1, 1897, Euthalophyta, Embryophyta, Zoidogama, Archegoniate, later Embryophyta, a Siphonogama 1-3, 1909, Embryophyta, Siphonogama 2-1, 1889. Next I am going to discuss about the Solibustea Pflanzenfamilien, synopsis of the first edition, Maxothalophyta, Euthalophyta, Embryophyta, Zoidogama, Archegoniate, Embryophyta, Siphonogama, Phanerogamae, Gymnospermae, Angiospermae. Des Pflanzenreich, Engler, AD 1900. In the foreword included in the first part of this monumental work, Engler explained the need for a more detailed monograph than in Pflanzenfamilien. Next I am going to discuss about his works, plant taxonomy. Beside his important work in general plant taxonomy, he was also an expert in some taxa, such as Saxifraga, Oraceae and Burseraceae and others. Adolf Engler collaborated with several other great botanists, including Alphonse de Candolle, on the monography Phanerogamarum, Monographs of Flowering Plants, and C.F.P. von Martius on the monumental work Flora Brasiliensis, Flora of Brazil. He founded the journal Botanische Jahrbuch für Systematik, Pflanzengeschichte und Pflanzengeographie, Botanical Yearbook for Systematics, Plant Phylogeny and Phytogeography, ISSN 00068152, published in Leipzig, Germany, which has continued in publication from 1881 to the present. In 2010, the publication changed its name to Plant Diversity and Evolution, Phylogeny, Biogeography, Structure and Function, ISSN 1869 to 6155. The Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, the natural plant families, edited with a Karl A.E. Prantl, with the collaboration of many notable experts, 1887 to 1915, 23 volumes. This enormous series is one of the very few detailed works since Linnaeus to attempt the classification of plants from algae to flowering plants, and constitutes an invaluable work. A second incomplete edition was produced in 1924 to 1980 in 28 parts by the Duncker und Humboldt Verlag, Berlin. Some volumes have been reissued in English. The second edition was hard to use for many years because no part of it was indexed until 1984, when an index was published in the Annals of the Missouri Botanical Garden. Des Pflanzenreich, the Plant Kingdom, with the collaboration of many notable experts, 1900 to 1968. This monographic series on the plant kingdom is presently incomplete. Solibustea Pflanzenfamilien, first published in 1892. The 12th edition, edited by H. Malkia and E. Warderman, with the collaboration of many notable experts, was published between 1954 to 1964. This is the most recent summary of Engler's system and gives description of higher taxonomic levels and 2 volumes. Next I am going to discuss about the phytogeography. He was one of the pioneers in this field of science, highlighting the importance of factors such as the geology on biodiversity and defined biogeographical regions in 1879. Vegetation, Dia, Erde, Vegetation of the Earth, 1896, with the O. Drood. Die Pflanzenwelt Ostafrikas und der Nachbargebiete, the plant world of Eastern Africa and the adjacent regions, 1895, available at Biodiversity Heritage Library. Adolf Engler, Alangian salvifolium plate from the Des Pflanzenreich as shown in the figure. Next I am going to discuss about the recognition. He received the Linnean Medal in 1913. The International Association for Plant Taxonomy established the Engler Medal in his honor in 1986 to be awarded for outstanding contributions in plant taxonomy. He was elected a foreign member of the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences in 1920. The journal Engler, ISSN 0170-4818, published by the Berlin Dahlem Botanical Garden, Germany, is also named after him. Many genera and various plant groups are named in his honor, such as the Engleristrum, Englerella, Engleria, Englerina, Englerocharis, Englerodaphne, Englerodendron, and Embryophytum. The standard author abbreviation Engel is used to indicate this person as the author when citing a botanical name. Engler is commemorated in the specific epithet Adolphi. Next I am going to discuss about the Karl Anton Eugen Prantl. Karl Anton Eugen Prantl, born on the 10th of September 1894 to the 24th of February 1893. Also known as the Karl Anton Eugen Prantl, was a German botanist. Prantl was born in Munich, Kingdom of the Bavaria, and studied in Munich. In 1870, he graduated with the dissertation Des Inulin. Ein, Beitrag, Soha, Pflanzen, Physiologie, Inulin. The Inulin, a contribution to the plant physiology. He worked with Carl Wilhelm von Nigeli and Julius Sachs. From 1887 on, he published Die Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, the natural plant families, with the fellow botanist Adolf Engler, who completed the work in 1915. In 1877, he became the professor at the Forest Educational Institution at the Aschaffenburg, transferring to Breslau University in 1889, where he also became the director of the botanical garden there. Prantl worked particularly on the cryptogams. Anton Eugen Prantl, Karl Anton Eugen Prantl, 1849 to 1893, as shown in the figure. Next I am going to discuss about the biography, which includes the date of birth. So he was born on 10th of September 1849, Munich, Kingdom of Bavaria. Died on the 24th February 1893 at the age of 43, Breslau. Nationality German. Scientific career includes the fields botany. Works. So his works includes the Lehrbuch, Die Botanik, textbook of botany, 7 editions, Leipzig, 1887 English translation and elementary textbook of botany 1881. Enter Zuhongan Suha Morphology Dia Gefab Cryptogamen Studies on Morphology of the Vascular Cryptogams, Leipzig 1875 and 1881, 2 fascicles. Next is the Excorians flora, fur, dust, Königreich, Bayern, flora of the excursion to the Bavaria Kingdom, Stuttgart 1884, Karl Prantl and Adolf Engler, editors, Die Naturalischen Pflanzenfamilien, the Natural Plant Families, 2 editions, Leipzig since 1887. Next I am going to discuss about the standard abbreviation. The standard author abbreviation Prantl is used to indicate this person as the author when citing a botanical name. If you like my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for your appreciation and for your time.